Good morning. Welcome to marketing. I gotta tell you, marketing has never been my strength. I don't teach any of the marketing classes, although every class that we not maybe not every class, but most classes that we teach have some level of marketing in them. Just this class is a perfect example, and we spend at least one chapter on it. And then we also talk about promoting and advertising, and so we get into it a couple times. And honestly, too, when I years ago in another life when I was a banker for a while, in addition to being a lender, I was also responsible for the marketing when our bank was really small and we didn't have specialists. I'd like to say I was good at it, but frankly, I probably was not. Although, at least the bank didn't go broke. I didn't completely screw things up. So, um, we'll try to whip through this, hit some of the high points again, maybe some of the questions that you guys might want to ask. I might have a little bit of humorous stuff in here too. Um, Things that we're going to talk about, so I'm just going to kind of click through that, right? Giving special consideration to needs, desires, wishes, etc. Move quickly, right? I think a key point here is that marketing is much more than advertising. I think we oftentimes equate the two, and I think the main point here is that they are um, very much different, and yet they're tied together. Um, New products, for example, right? That's marketing. You're trying to assess and satisfy a customer need. It's all about marketing, but it's also the operational side of getting that product to market, right? And so, they're kind of combined. And in that new product thing, I never said anything about advertising. Sometimes they need not be advertised, right? Um, a marketing concept, yeah. Customer orientation. So again, focus on what the customer's needs and how do we satisfy those needs. Um, Going back to banking and what's happened there. Um, for a long time, believe it or not, ATMs were introduced. They existed for a long time, but there was a threshold of about 30% of customers that would use ATMs, and the other 70% just absolutely refused to use them, and they really couldn't get over that threshold. And I don't know that banks ever have, but how has banking changed? Now it's all, not all, but largely digital and online. Who even keeps a check register anymore? Probably should, but everybody uses debit cards, and you just go online and check it, right? And balance it that way, or use a program like QuickBooks to balance. And so things have changed a lot, right? Goal orientation, can't lose track of. I gave here as Montana Meth Project. What's their goal, right? Is to get people to quit using methamphetamines. Systems approach, everything must work together. I put in here the Wii, Sony PlayStation. Yeah, probably should be divided there, but the point there is going back to when the Wii was originally. That's a Nintendo product, but when the Wii was originally introduced, I know it's old news for you guys because it was quite some time ago, but the Wii came out about this time of the year, if I remember right. It was so popular that they ran out. They didn't have the supply chain in place to make it, so Christmas was coming up, and here all these people wanted Wii's, and they couldn't get them. Um, that's a bit of a failure then on the marketing side, right? So the systems didn't quite work together. We'll talk about all of these as we go along. Image, consumerism, look for some dangers. So image, right? What's positive. You got to be careful to avoid the negative too, I would say. I think, how does your company, how do your products, how does your service fit? Be helpful. Yep, offer your research, maybe research into how things can make life better for people. Unique to the point, don't be pushy, la da da. Consumerism, right? Prodding businesses to improve the quality of the products and to expand consumer knowledge. I think some of that is putting yourself in the place of the consumer, maybe, or trying to figure out what the consumer wants. People often said that Steve Jobs was the master at that he knew what they wanted before they knew what they wanted. And that's how we came out with iPhones, smartphones. Was this guy had he just had this ability to figure out what people were going to want, and he developed that, and again, people didn't know they wanted it until he actually made the product. Kind of a interesting thing, but he was actually very good at it. And then seek a competitive edge. We can be better, right? And what are examples of better? If you look at certain products, certainly you can see that. John Deere is probably considered better than what are some of the cheaper brands? And small tractors, Mahindra maybe. Okay, people might argue with me, right? But certainly they put themselves out as being a better option, right? Cheaper, cost leadership. That's your typical Walmart, right? They put that out as being a cheaper option, and faster, a quick response. Yeah, we can look at all the quick response restaurants, quick service restaurants, QSRs, McDonald's, Kentucky Fried Chicken, etc. You don't plan to go there and sit and spend an hour getting your lunch and eating it, right? Whereas if you go to Murphy's, that's exactly what you plan to do. So marketing research. And I would say, when I work with students and we do business plans in the spring for entrepreneurship, that marketing research is maybe one of the things that gets overlooked more than anything. And it is tough to do in that situation when you're writing up your marketing plan. But I think it's so vital if you are actually going to start a business. What are the customers' needs? Who are they, and what are their needs? Do they really need the product or service that you're offering? And to what extent, right? What is the sales potential? These are great questions to ask our guests. We got Kyle Leeds coming in, and Terry Lillibet from Independence Bank. Kyle Leeds is from radio stations. Havre has 3 radio stations. So they're going to come at it from a little different angle, right? Where Terry is coming from the bank side, and Kyle actually tries to sell to Terry, right, to get them to buy advertising on the radio station, which they do plenty of, right? And so a little different angle there, and so a little different as to how they identify who their customers are and what their needs are. And it'd be interesting to listen to that. Again, banking has transformed quite a bit and gone from being very personal to largely impersonal, and people do so much of it online anymore. It's completely different. The bank here is immensely larger than when I worked there, and yet I think they have fewer tellers working now than they did back in my day. Simply because people do their banking in other fashions. Okay. This is a good area to ask a lot of questions, I guess, in the research and how they research what their customers need and whatnot. Honestly, for a lot of small businesses, it's a little bit seat of the pants, right? Maybe you're serving some food and you get customers that are constantly requesting something, or I see restaurants doing that often, and it's kind of cool, that they'll put out a product, and just say, hey, we're trying this out for a limited time. And geez, if it goes over good, maybe they make it a little bit more permanent. So, and then evaluate advertising and promotion. How do you do that? Does the radio station help with that? Does the bank keep track of those things? How do you do it? Right? Finding the problem and then gathering and evaluating information. A lot of that's really changing too, right? We've got existing information. Primary research is really existing information. Is secondary research. Primary research is that research that we do ourselves. It may be surveys that we do. It may be focus group things that we do. It may be information that we gather in the course of doing business. We'll look at some of that. There are specialized techniques. There are companies that absolutely specialize in those things. The web, of course, is becoming huge, as are computerized databases, and good questions to ask there. To what extent maybe is Kyle at the bank or Kyle at the radio station and Terry at the bank, are they using some of these computerized databases? To what extent are they gathering this information? In large scales, your Googles and your Amazons, it's unbelievable, how much they're using this information, all the cookies and whatnot that are out there. To what extent are these smaller businesses and local businesses doing that? We might be surprised. Secondary research, and I got marketing research on the internet. This actually goes to the census. And I'll let you guys click on it, but just takes you to, gives you quick facts about certain areas, so you know what the populations are, and you know kind of what some of the demographic characteristics of that population is. That can be a key element to your marketing, right? Ascertaining who that is. If Havre, is a community of a lot of older people, getting ready to retire, that might very well change the type of business that a person might want to start or get into, or how you operate your business. Okay, if Havre's a young community, completely different. Database marketing. This is the new thing. Okay, people are accumulating data at prodigious rates. Okay, and with computers, of course, we're able to accumulate it, store it, massage it, do those types of things. In fact, one of my good friends from high school has a master's degree in statistics, and basically that's what he does. Is he gets data from companies. He does. He's got his own business, and so he kind of contracts out. One of his big contracts was Wells Fargo recently, and they give him all kinds of data, and he runs it through statistical analysis and gives them feedback. Okay, and it all has to do with marketing. I put here as primary research, old Bi-Mart. I miss that when they used to be in Havre. Nice little store that we had here for a while. But they had a membership card. It cost you $5, no big deal. It wasn't that they were trying to make a lot of money off the card, but they were using that card each time you went in to kind of keep track of what you were buying. Okay, and that way they can better ascertain what the customer's needs and wants are over time and help satisfy those needs. There you go. That probably happens sometimes too. Superior marketing, right, was quickly, it identifies pricing differentials. Doesn't always mean you have to be the low price. Packaging becomes a big deal when we talk about consumer goods and whatnot. Sometimes the packaging may be environmentally sensitive, right? Or we want to have certain packaging because it'll decompose or whatever, versus stuff that's going to last forever. Customer loyalty, of course, huge if you're planning to stick around, if you're selling stuff, etc. Give you an example there. My mom had eye surgery. This was a while back, just cataract. Just had to have cataracts redone, and we had given our number to call and for anything, and it was Sunday. And my wife was out for a walk on a Sunday afternoon, and her cell phone rings, and she answers it, and it's the doctor himself asking how my mom's eye surgery had gone and if everything was okay. Would she go back to him? Well, hopefully she doesn't need any more surgery, but if she did, absolutely, right? Huge thing. And I've had that with car repair places that take it in, they work on it. A week later they call you up and say, hey, how'd that go? Superior marketing.
Hey, nice dog.
Yeah, this is Piper. You're a bred border collie. Watch this. Piper, fetch. Good boy, Piper. You're such a smart dog. So, what can your dog do?
Fergus, Bud Light.
Bad dog. Fresh, smooth, real Bud Light. It's all here.
Bud Light, of course, they're famous for a lot of their commercials on the Super Bowl and whatnot. So, and e-commerce technology and the stuff that's going on there is just fascinating. And it's still moving at light speed. You know, we look at it. I guess we're living in the time, and sometimes it seems like it's moving slow. But when you compare to that to innovations that have happened or occurred in the past, this is truly light speed. Some of the things that are happening there, and asking about, you know, our guests' use of technology. I think we could probably talk about that for an hour and where it's at and where they think it's going. So. Marketing, target marketing. I'm sorry, choosing a target market. A lot of folks, especially when they do their entrepreneurship things, they say, "Well, I'm just going to market to everybody." And yeah, but no. You know, there's target markets. You know, if you go to Costco and they sell things that are inexpensive and whatnot, you might think that their target market would be low. You know, maybe people in the middle income brackets, but at the lower end of the brackets. Well, they find out that no, it's just the opposite. It's relatively wealthy people that do a lot of their shopping at Costco, you know, partly because they can afford to buy things in big bulk, and then they probably got the room where they can store it too, whereas, you know, poorer people typically don't have that, right? So you got to pick, you know, who those target markets are, and they are, you know, Walmart probably does cater to that middle class to lower middle class, you know, lower income folks. In some areas, in an area like Havre, it probably goes up quite a bit because, you know, we have the fewer options, I would think. So, and then regional purchasing differences. You know, people obviously buy things differently all around the country, or even outside of the country. McDonald's definitely changes their menu when they open a store in Japan. Target market and market segmentation. So market segmentation is dividing it. And that can be by age, that can be by income levels, that can be by, it could even be by heritage, okay? Meaning that you might open up a restaurant in a part of town that, if you're in a bigger town, that may cater to a certain racial demographic group. Okay, it could happen. Those types of things, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with trying to promote that. You don't want to discriminate against other people that might want to come in, but you can certainly, you know, cater your thing, your store, whatever it might be, to people that have different demographic characteristics, psychographic and behavioral characteristics, I should throw in. So we get the marketing mix, right? Probably always going to be in a quiz, product, price, promotion, and place, or distribution, that is.
Canada is committed to improving the lives of women. That's why we've introduced the new National Daycare Program. But that's just the start. Introducing the National Husband Care Program. A safe and nurturing place to leave your husband, equipped with lazy boys and big screen TVs. Just drop your husband off. He'll be fed a nutritious lunch of beer and pickles, then put down for a nap. And don't worry about germs. At the end of the day, everything gets sprayed. Your husband won't be wasting his time. He'll be provided with do-it-yourself projects he can start and not finish. Plus, he'll be taken to great husband activities like fishing shows and stereo shops. The first time you drop your husband off, he might be scared and confused. But rest assured, by the end of the day, he won't want to leave. But you'll make him. Canada's National Husband Care Program. Ladies, think how much more you'll get done without the ball and chain.
Yeah, there you go. That did look like a nice place to go. So we don't have one of those in Havre, unfortunately. So product life cycle. I get a kick out of this because it's obviously this, is from the book, and it's not that long ago. But some of these things have very much moved along the time frame or along the life cycle. And I'll give you an example. Personal digital assistants are gone, right? Nobody even knows what a PDA or personal digital assistant is, but they were in vogue before we had smartphones. They came and went rather rapidly. I've still got one, I think, sitting at home that I had. It was a little Microsoft kind of mini computer type of a thing, and that's what it was. And a lot of those things that it did got integrated into smartphones, but it all became a part of the phone. And that goes with digital cameras too, right? Digital cameras have been on a huge decline. I would think the higher end of digital cameras are still doing pretty good for people that want to get out and take excellent photos, but low-end digital cameras are virtually non-existent because why? Everybody's got a cell phone and they take pictures with their cell phones or smartphones, okay? And we call this cell phones. Smartphones may be further down here, right? So they kind of reinvented those, and they kind of backed up here fax machines. I don't even know too many places that use fax machines anymore. Scan it, send it, those types of things, right? Video cassette recorders, they're gone. It says they're in decline. I don't think you could buy one, hardly, if you wanted to. Color TVs have been a little bit reinvented when we went from the old cathode ray tubes to the flat panel. But they're still probably in the decline stage. And I think about people are using smaller screens now, their phones and other things. Global positioning devices, GPS, probably far further along. Wi-Fi, a lot further along, right? In fact, now Wi-Fi is maybe we're going to 5G coming up. So lots of, that's just changed a whole heck of a lot. Strategy implementation, fit the product to the market. Independence Bank has come out with some fairly new products, and we call them products, even the services, but credit and debit cards, and we can certainly ask about those things. I think should be able to within the with Terry when she comes. Evaluate resources, and I put on here guerrilla marketing. Starting out, a lot of businesses don't have a lot of money to spend, and so you got to come up with different ways, innovative ways to market. If we get Renelle Broughton in here, and hopefully we will, I got to give her a call and see if I can get her in to talk about her Manel's bra business, and she loves to tell about her guerrilla marketing and how it worked and what it took, etc., etc. You get new classes of customers maybe as you grow bigger, right? Oops, sorry. Penetrate further into your existing market, maintain market share, hopefully by design, manufacturing, changing things. The 4 P's, product, place, promotion, and price, we've already talked about. Product, there you go, designing something that customers need.
When your lady friend can't get to the fridge, get the fridge to your lady friend.
Yeah, I guess that was product there too. Place. Place is more distribution, right? We talk about place, but it's the whole thing. It's where you're sourcing those products from, and ultimately where you're delivering them to, right? Oh, that one doesn't want to play for me. I got it. Yeah, we'll move on. Packaging, then, huge thing for a lot of consumer goods and whatnot. How it comes packaged. Packaged can be, both what it looks like, you know, the plastic thing that goes around it or the box that it comes in, those types of things. But it can also be packaged as putting things together, right? Going and buying a pair of skis and you get the ski boots with it and things like that, and you can get, you know, maybe better pricing as a result of it. So it could be those types of things, right? Improves product convenience, promotes the brand recognition, absolutely. Influences the buying decision, certainly. Saw that one was from New Zealand. We don't see a lot of those ads necessarily here in Montana or in the U.S. The Sharper Image, and I think the Sharper, I got a couple of them on here, but I think the Sharper Image went to heck. It used to be, I used to really enjoy it, see a Sharper Image store, and just going in and wandering around because it did have cool crap, most of it that you wouldn't use if you bought it, probably sit at home.
Imagine me and you, I do. I think about you day and night. It's only right to think about the girl you love and hold her tight. So happy together. If I should call you up, invest a dime, and you say you belong to me, it ease my mind. Imagine how the world could be so very fine. So happy together. So happy together. I can't see me loving nobody but you for all my life. When the skies only blue for all my life.
Good promotions. You got the 4 C's, right? Customer, company, competition, and constraints. I don't know that our guests would talk a lot about those. Obviously, they talk well about their own company and who their customers are. Good question to ask, just straightforward. Who are your customers, right? Who's the competition? What are the constraints that you have in your business? You know, small businesses especially. There we go, another business that's bankrupt. So we went from Sharper Image, which would have been more on the differentiating end, to Kmart, which was on the price leadership. Things that influence price, yeah. We'd ask about that. Not having a retailer come in, this may be a little bit tough. You guys should be familiar with all of these types of pricing things because they're important. Markup, you know, cost of the item. Oftentimes you'll see, again, I should back up because this is going to be difficult to ask in the banking situation. Their pricing is going to be a little different. You know, obviously they're not they're buying things wholesale and reselling them or manufacturing anything. They're just taking money, marking it up, and lending it out or selling it, I guess you could say, to other folks. You know, pricing at the radio station. That might be some interesting questions that we could ask, and certainly should. Discounts and allowances, I don't know that we'd see a lot of that. Again, from these two, I would think, you know, if you talk to the radio station, I'm sure they do some quantity discounts. You know, if you buy a lot of advertising, I'm sure that you get a little better price. Types of discounts could be cash, coupon. I know North 40 just had a good sale on 22 shells. The sale was so-so, but you could get a $5 rebate for every 100 22 shells that you bought. Coupon, or as a rebate, I should say, not a coupon, sorry. Not much there that we'll be able to ask the folks probably that we have coming in. in service firms, you know, they set their pricing a little bit differently, right? Because you don't have a markup. So how do you charge? You know, if you're a plumber, if you're an electrician, if you're a mechanic, how do you set your pricing for those types of things? A lot of it's pretty competitive, right? Or, you know, what the competition will bear, you might say. Retailers, again, it probably depends on what they're selling. You know, be it a specialty good, or be it a convenience good, or be it a low cost, you know, loss leader type of a good. Wholesalers, producers, billing contractors, or cost plus, sure. Nature, and that's, you know, cost plus would also probably fit what a bank typically does, right? They're paying for deposits. Have to pay people to deposit money there. They mark that up, lend it out to people, and make net interest margin at the difference, right? Nature of service, marketing services, differentiating, kind of things we've already hit on. How do you market services versus marketing otherwise? And that might be a good question to ask of Kyle, even a radio person. You know, do they differentiate when they get in there, and they're talking about one of their customers that has a service versus a customer that has a product? Is their approach different? Okay, the bank obviously is a service thing, and so their approach is going to be kind of what it is. Yeah, and this is interesting, and I think the change here, you know, it'd be a good question to ask Terry from the bank, especially, but probably even Kyle too. You know, at some point in time, years ago, I mean, the level of customer contact was huge. And if you wanted something done at the bank, you went into the bank and talked to somebody. That's obviously changing a lot, and I don't know how that's changed their marketing approach, but it'd be a really good question to ask. I think I'm getting close to the end. I know this one's been kind of long, but marketing is kind of long. Talk about shifting. You know, we're getting older. Seniors going to be spending more. Strategy implementation, yeah, if you're in the mature stage. Yeah, and this was, you know, the Kmart was doing this out here. This isn't from our local Kmart, although it even kind of looks like it, but they were running ads basically and hiring people. Herberger's was too, and they went out of business, trying to hire people to shut the store down basically. That's it. Been a long one there. I'm gonna sign out, and thank you. Hopefully I'll sign out here. I'm not sure where my